Brought to you by Set TV Now Internet Television, 500 channels of TV. www.trytvfree.biz. Wednesday weather forecast, partly to mostly sunny skies, temperatures about 30 to 35 today. Mostly clear skies, around 14-15 above tonight. Thursday, partly to mostly sunny in the mid-20s. And it looks like those temperatures will climb back into the low 30s on Friday with partly to mostly sunny skies. Jonesboro, that's your KLEK 102.5 FM weather.
From Feature Story News in London, I'm Ollie Barrett. North Korea's opened up a hotline to the south 2 years after Kim Jong-un ordered it to be disabled. Ethiopia says it will release all political prisoners and close a controversial detention centre accused of using torture to obtain confessions. Weeks ahead of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's visit to India, the Narendra Modi government in Delhi has cancelled a defence deal, and the UK government's under growing pressure over a winter crisis in the NHS.
It's 9:01.
KLEK LP Jonesboro, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council. It's now time for Community Conversations, a program focusing on the people working to make the Jonesboro community a better place, while offering viewpoints from all sides of the issues. The views expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of KLEK 102.5 FM, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council, or our underwriters or sponsors.
KLEK 102.5 FM. Good morning to you on your Wednesday. It's January 3rd, 2018. This is Community Conversations. Kiddo Wonder is in the studio with you, and I am joined by Quabila Jones-Harden, and this is the first Wednesday of the month, and also the first Wednesday of 2018, so that means we are joined by Jonesboro Police Chief Rick Elliott, and we're also joined by Sergeant Brandon King of the Internet Crimes Against Children Unit of the Jonesboro Police Department. We're going to talk about a variety of topics this morning. Before Quabila talks with Sergeant King about some of the things that he's doing, I want to start off with Chief by just starting off with like a quick year in review of 2017 and what we can look forward to for 2018 with the Jonesboro Police Department.
Wow, where do we start? 17 was a busy year for us. Unfortunately, it was a year that we saw an increase in our homicide rates. We ended up with 7 homicides for the year of 2017, and that's very unfortunate for our city. Typically, on average, for the past 10 years, we've been averaging 3 to 5 homicides a year. So we did see a spike in that this year, which is very unfortunate. This year began with bringing back our street crimes unit, and with them in place, we have seen a difference in our community. They have made an impact on the people that are dealing in drugs and things like that, and so that's been a very productive year for them. The department, we've had some growth in the department throughout the year. We've had some grant funding throughout the year. We're getting new equipment in the cars. We've gone to electronic tickets, and so that's something new and different, but it makes the traffic stop a lot quicker and easier. The officer just takes the driver's license and scans it, and there's a printer in the car that prints out the ticket, and they hand it back to the violator, then everybody's back on their way. So a little bit different. We're still getting that equipment installed. We're about done with that, and so we're just trying to be more efficient about what we do day in and day out. But that's some of the big highlights so far of the year of 17.
So how was New Year's? Because you and we were talking off the air, and especially Sergeant King had brought up a little story about his neighborhood and a discussion. But
yeah, it's New Year's always brings in people discharging firearms and fireworks, and which both are illegal. But even more dangerous is shooting off firearms in the city limits, because the bullet goes up and it has to come back down. And if there's some innocent person standing around and they get hit, then that's a problem. And plus, the bullet, when it comes down, it could cause damage to somebody's property, their vehicle, their house, or whatever. So that's a very negligent act on people that do that. And if we do catch somebody doing that, we certainly will cite them to court for that. It's very dangerous.
We have a couple of Facebook shouts. Shout out to Cora Evans Hester and Noel Harper Richardson. Now, Chief, the next thing I want to bring up is something that was just recently announced. Is Jonesboro Police Department is changing the hiring process for officers. In the past, you all did testing twice a year. Now testing is going to be monthly, and the application process is online. So just kind of explain the rationale behind the change and how the new process will work.
Sure. In the past, like you said, we tested twice a year, and I think we're losing applicants because the time they apply and time they get through the testing process, they've either found a job elsewhere or may have lost interest. So we're trying to change the way we do things, and we'll test once a month. We do the test there at the department. Sergeant Brandon will administer a test, and then once we get several applicants together, then we'll bring the applicants back in and do the physical portion and start on the backgrounds. And this gives us a chance to spread out the background checks. We're not having to do a bunch of applicants all at once. As they come in, we'll start the background checks on them, and so it kind of speeds up the process, and hopefully we get the people through the process a little bit quicker, and give them hope that, hey, if this is a job that you really want to do, then we want to get you in and get you started in the process. And it is a lengthy process, as you know. We do a quite extensive background check, and it takes a while. You have to do the background, you have to pass the polygraph, you have to pass the psychological test, a drug test, and a physical test, and a medical test. So there's a lot to what we do to become a police officer. So again, we've changed it up starting this year and do a little bit different, and we're going to increase our recruiting efforts, and we hope that we can count on y'all at KLAK.
We got the Jonathan Hagen's PSA. It's going to start back tomorrow. I've made some slides to it, and of course, I reached out to you personally.
Yes.
We want to get a black female officer to record PSA as well, to have them both rotate. All right, my last thing, then I'm gonna let Kabila take over. I don't want to just hog the show, but the last thing I did want to bring up is unfortunately a sad note. Even though this was not in your department, this was still in our area. We lost to Officer Lieutenant Bill Brown of the Arkansas State University Police Department. He passed away on the 30th, and I just want to kind of get your thoughts on that. What goes through your mind whenever you see, an officer, experience the end of watch?
Yeah, it's a loss of a family member, because when you're in law enforcement, no matter if it's our department or another department, it's one family, and a lot of folks don't understand that, but law enforcement is family, and our law enforcement community is very close, and it is unfortunate about Bill passing away. Of course, I knew Bill personally, and he was a great guy, and he was very dedicated to ASU and the ASU Police Department, and he will be missed out there on campus and in our community both. So huge loss for Jonesboro and ASU.
We are speaking with Jonesboro Police Chief Rick Elliott, and also with Sergeant Brandon King of the Internet Crimes Against Children's Unit. And of course, if you have a question or a call for either, you can give us a call at 870-277-1080. Once again, that phone number is 870-277-1080, or you can weigh in on our Facebook Live feed. And now I'm going to turn over to Kabila.
Okay, so I have been, good morning to y'all. Happy New Year.
Good morning. Happy New Year.
I've been watching several videos, and I'm always on either YouTube or Facebook. You can be doing something. Anyway, I saw some videos, and even though this is nothing new, it's seeming to pop up more. There are kids that are being abducted. Some of them, okay, I have a child, so I know how their mind works. Sometimes they feel like parents don't know anything. They're just talking. I know this person, or I know what I'm doing. They don't, and they get themselves in
situations. They think they know everything.
And they get themselves in situations that get them in trouble. And unbeknownst to them, the last time they were at home was the last time they were at home. And then you have these parents making a plea. Have you seen this child? I can't tell you how many missing children posts I've seen on Facebook last year within just the past 3 months. Some children have been returned. Some children have never been found. Okay. The bottom line This video that I watched, the parents were basically catfishing their kids. So they found out their kids were communicating with someone online, Facebook, Twitter, whatever these social apps are, and the parent worked with an agency to help set their kids up. There were, in this particular video, there were 3 different ones, I think. One parent had their child, one child met this person who they thought they were talking to at a house.
Right.
Their parent was at the house, and they were kind of watching from the background. Child walked in, didn't know the situation. Someone came out as if they were going to attack them, and then the parent came out and basically, this could have gone way worse than what it did. You walked into a house you knew nothing about. Another one, a child was snatched into a van, but the parent was in the van. So I mean, there's several situations like that. Okay, so how can we start this conversation with our kids? How can we drill into them the importance of being safe online and not just talking to anyone? Or if you start a conversation with someone online, how to try to go about verifying their identity. Yes, people can snatch pictures. I'm the type of person, now that I'm older, I'm like, can you send me a video of yourself? Or I don't like to FaceTime a lot, but I will for the sake of, are you who you say you are? I'll FaceTime you for about 5 minutes, So I know I threw a lot out. I'm sorry.
It is a lot. Now defer over to Sergeant King, because this is an area of his expertise.
There's so many aspects to it. It's really hard to start, and every kid's different, obviously. I had this talk with my 8-year-old yesterday. With him, he's got a little tablet, and it's very heavily restricted as to what he can do, and he's not allowed any games where you can message with somebody else on there. So that's a huge avenue that these predators are using these days. It'd be a Xbox One or a PlayStation game where they can communicate with these kids, and it's so easy to hide your identity that way.
Yes.
I'm actually working, I think, 2 cases right now, felony cases, where an adult pretended to be a kid and struck up a relationship with these children over a PlayStation game. It's kind of like everything else. We try to teach our kids to do the right thing, but you cannot really make them understand the consequences. And so I struggle with that a lot, with talking to parents and talking to my own children. And they can nod and agree that, yeah, okay, I won't do that because I know you say something can go wrong, but they don't really grasp it. And so the only way to prevent it is to just restrict their access.
Okay.
And I fight constantly at home because my kids always wanting to play this new game or wanting to get on this new app. And I'm sorry, you just can't right now.
Now, how do you feel though about, I know some parents feel like they're going to take the most extreme measure possible without causing harm to their child to get their attention. Do you feel that some of these tactics may be extreme, or is it necessary to do what you need to do to get their attention?
Looking from the outside, some of them look like they're a little bit extreme, but they know their kids better than I do. And if that's what it takes to really drive home the principle that you're in danger in this situation, then I think it's worth it. From your experience, can subjecting your child to some type of scenario where you're trying to teach them a lesson, can it cause some psychological issues later down the line? Maybe they either not trust their parents as much, and then they start having some behavior that is counterproductive. I guess I could see that. It's probably all in the presentation of it. I haven't dealt with that here.
Okay.
And so I can't attest to seeing psychological problems down the road. My first thought is that we can deal with that down the road if we can keep them from harm right now.
Okay.
Well, Kabila, I just want to add to that. You and I growing up, like you said, I think, and I'm just only going to speak for myself, I think at the end of the day, it's worth it. I mean, it's, now some parents, are afraid to discipline and do things to their kids. Like, how they say, Kabila, you and I both, we got our butts whooped and we're all right. We're here on the radio and we're not in jail.
Okay.
That's right.
We had to pick our own switches.
Oh yeah.
That's another story.
And if it was too little, you had to go get a big one, and then you got extra lashes. But like I said, we turned out okay. We're doing this and we're doing something productive and not, being a menace to society.
Yeah, I've got friends in the mental health field dealing specifically with children. They would they might give you a different answer.
Okay.
But from what I know, our primary goal is to keep them safe.
Okay.
We can sort out the rest later.
And then another concern, like, I grew up in a rural, like, when I say rural, like, there was a house next door. The next house was, like, about a mile down the road, and there were wheat and cotton fields and bean fields all around, like, in the country.
That's rural.
So, in situations like that, you get in a car with someone. I have made some bad choices, but thank God, like, I'm still here. In situations like that, someone gives you a ride, goes down a dark road. And even in Craighead County, there are some dark roads, and there's some places that it may take officers months to find somebody.
Yeah.
So
bear in mind, Jonesboro's 82 square miles of city limits. So there's roads that officers may never see that's in the city limits. So Jonesboro has a quite large landmass.
So let's talk about, if someone recognizes or they think they see something suspicious, they contact you. I mean, what are the steps to take to contacting you all? Okay, someone's watching my child, or I just feel like something's wrong, and then reporting a missing person, not just a child. Reporting a missing person. What are the steps for that?
There's several different avenues, depending on what's going on. Obviously, if there's a child missing, if they're not where they're supposed to be, one of the things that we run into is that people got this idea in their mind years ago that someone has to be missing for 24 hours before.
Okay.
That's not true. If that kid's not where he's supposed to be, you let us know so we can start working on it.
Okay.
As far as online activity, getting strange messages or sexually inappropriate messages with young children, things like that, by all means, you can contact us if you live in the county, wherever, give us a call. We will see that you get to the right place.
Okay.
The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children has a cyber tip line that is set up. And I don't recall the web address offhand. I think it's maybe cybertipline.org.
Well, I can look it up. What's it called? I'll Google it.
It's the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children.
National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Okay.
And that's a really great program. If you see something going on, you contact them. They will start digging, getting information ready, and they will send it to the appropriate law enforcement jurisdiction.
And that website is missingkids.com. Once again, that website is missingkids.com.
We get a lot of tips and work a lot of cases that originates with NECMEC there.
Okay. Now, another issue, kind of sort of tying into this, when it comes to people reporting sexual offenses, for underage children. I said that all wrong. Okay. Someone under the age of 18, their parent or guardian reports that their child has been sexually abused in some shape, form, or fashion. What if the child, in most cases teenagers, they say, oh, that's my boyfriend, that's my girlfriend, or they at one point consented to the act, and now, but their parents are just dead set on it was abuse of some sort. How do you handle
it varies a lot depending on the circumstances. We do have some situations where it's not legal for somebody to consent.
Okay.
Depending on ages and someone being in a position of authority or whatnot. And there are some instances, we talk to quite a few parents who are really upset that their kid is sexually involved with someone, but although it seems wrong, it's not actually outside of the law the way it's written. And in those cases, it's we try to refer them to get them some help, maybe through the court system or something like that, but sometimes there's not a lot we can do about those.
All right, so I know I had to do some research when I worked for another agency, and so I had to do some research on curfews. And then along with the research came, of what age is it considered consensual and things of that nature. And I just pulled up, this was back in April 2014. So does the law change often?
That hasn't changed.
Okay, so as of now, any person under the age of under the age of consent is deemed to be mentally incapable of consenting to sex. Thus, if an adult has sex with a minor below the age of consent, which in this case is 16, this is just for Arkansas. So anyone under the age of 16 is not legally, or by law, able to consent.
That's right.
So if their parents suspect something or finds out something, they have a right to report it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Just because they were willing at the age of 14 or 15 doesn't mean they have the lawful right to consent. It's a crime.
Okay. I know I just took the conversation way different, but I'm sorry. But it's just, there's so many things happening to children. And I say children because I'm older. Young people under the age of 21. Okay. They think they know everything. They try to venture on their own and don't want to listen to sound authority. And so they get caught in these situations and they're having to call mom and dad and say, you know, I'm in trouble. So I just want to help parents start recognizing things and having these conversations with their children as early as possible. What age do you think parents should start talking to their children about being safe online, being careful who you interact with? Like,
I think from the moment they start getting access to the internet, you've got to be having these conversations with them. Just because they may appear too young to you doesn't mean they're too young for that bad guy who's lurking out there.
Okay. And one thing I will say, I watched the show on Netflix, and it's kind of creepy that we could be moving to a society within 20, 30 years where we are controlled by technology. We can have these little devices implanted in someone could be watching us like Big Brother style. We don't know what's going to happen. However, in this particular show, there was some parental control set up, and the parent was able to control what their child actually saw on a day-to-day basis. They were able to put a blurry filter on things. On one hand, I think that's a good idea to kind of shield your children, but at the same time, I do feel that parents need to start having these conversations before the child learns about things they don't find other means.
And we're going to go ahead and leave it there. We're speaking with Jonesboro Police Chief Rick Elliott and Sergeant Brandon King of Jonesboro Police Department. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more. This is Kate, LEK, on 2.5 FM.
You're listening to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. We'll be right back.
Do you text your kids just to encourage them? I'm Mark Merrill with today's Family Minute. Susan and I often use texting to encourage our kids. Sure, there's no substitute for face-to-face conversations or talking on the phone, but texting is often an easy way to quickly communicate with our children. I want to inspire you to send one text message to each of your kids or grandkids each day over the next 10 days. Here are a few ideas to help you get started. You can text, "You're an incredible young man. I'm so honored to be your mom." Or maybe you can say, "You're going to make a great wife one day." Another text could be, "I love you no matter what." For more text to inspire your child or grandchild, visit my blog at markmerrill.com. Remember, your family first.
Family Minute is made possible by the Kappa Nu Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, a non-profit organization committed to service to all mankind. Kappa Nu Omega Alpha Kappa Alpha on Facebook and KNOMEGA1908.com.
Meineke of Jonesboro is now Starks Auto Service, a full-service auto repair and vehicle maintenance center offering engine and transmission repair, brake service, tires, oil changes, and more, performed by ASE certified mechanics. The all-new Starks Auto Service, 2813 South Caraway Road in Jonesboro, 870-204-7112. Starks Auto Service, Jonesboro.com.
The Mu Omicron Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated was established on January 1st, 1977, originally serving Blytheville, Arkansas, and now serving Jonesboro, Blytheville, Osceola, Marion, and West Memphis, Arkansas. Today, the chapter continues to make an impact by focusing on Alpha's national community outreach initiatives such as My Brother's Keeper, A Voteless People is a Hopeless People, Go to High School, Go to College, Project Alpha, Boy Scouts, and the March of Dimes. The Mu Omicron Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated is committed to Alpha's mission of developing leaders, promoting brotherhood and academic excellence, while providing service and advocacy to the community. More information about the Mu Omicron Lambda chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated is available at MOL Alphas on Facebook or via email at molalphas@gmail.com.
KLEK 102.5 FM is giving you more praise. That's right. Starting Wednesday, January 3rd, KLEK brings to you All Gospel Wednesdays, every Wednesday from 5 a.m. till 7 p.m. Enjoy all of your favorite gospel hits and get your praise on all day long with Cheryl Underwood Radio in the morning, Brother Cobbs during the day, and Hezekiah Walker to take you into your local church Bible study. Plus, the return of the KLEK Praise Break. Lift up your hands, rejoice, and praise Him all day, all Wednesday, every Wednesday, on KLEK 102.5 FM.
On January 4th, from 5:30 p.m. until 7:30 p.m., the Y Crew Ministry of Fullness of Joy will host their Soup Kitchen for the Needy. If anyone is in need of a hot meal or a warm place for a couple of days, this will be available. No one will be turned away. This will be at the Kelly Fellowship Hall at the church located at 2120 Thorn Avenue and is open to the public. More information on donations or volunteering is also available at Fullness of Joy Ministries at 501-712-2066 or 870-930-9569.
Do you like the music you hear on KLEK 102.5 FM? Do you like the educational programming that we provide? Do you like the service we provide to the community? Do you like having a station to finally call your own that represents you? If so, please stop by or call any of our underwriters or sponsors that you hear on KLEK and tell them thank you for their support. The support of our underwriters and sponsors is vital for us to stay on the air. So be sure to let them know that you thank them for their support.
And now back to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM.
We're back on Community Conversations on KLEK with our guests, Jonesboro Police Chief Rick Elliott and Sergeant Brandon King of the Jonesboro Police Department. And we've been talking about a variety of topics. Before the break, we were talking about some of Sergeant King's duties with the Internet Crimes Against Children, part of the department, and as well as some tips to deal with child and other abductions. So we'll pick up the conversation back there.
All right, so I want to thank you for the information that you've given so far. So I want to so we talked a little bit about people making reports. It's no longer 24 hours.
No.
Report right away.
Absolutely.
If your child is not where they're supposed to be. And one thing I want to say to parents, and I'm guilty of this, have a mental description of what your child wore to school that day. Even at least the color of their clothes or the color of their coat or their backpack, things of that nature, so that you can give the officers a more accurate description. That helps out more than you know in those cases. Now, what about the different trackers and things that people, most kids now by 10 or 11 have a tablet or a phone or device of some sort that is Wi-Fi capable or is able to make contact, even if it's text messaging. Should parents go ahead and start putting those locator apps on those devices?
Absolutely. That can make all the difference. We here at Jonesboro Police Department have become part of what's called the CART team. It's a Child Abduction Response Team. And it's a regional thing. It's statewide. Actually, it's nationwide, but Arkansas is on track to be the first state certified across the whole state. It's based on FBI standards for these child abductions. It's a great program. One of the things that they've taught us in our training is that in the vast majority of true abduction cases where the child never returns, most of the time that child is actually deceased before the police were ever notified. So I can't stress how important it is to call us. If we would rather be there and everything turn out to be fine in the end. Call us as soon as you realize something's up. And something like a tracker, it could make all the difference in the world. If we could pinpoint where that child is, the outcome would be totally different.
Okay. Another thing I would like to stress, I know a lot of people, I do see quite a few people posting updated pictures, outfit of the day, taking pictures of their kids every day when they go to school. At some point, that's not a bad idea, though. Maybe don't have to post every picture online, but take a picture of your child every day, every so many days, just to have an updated picture on file. Another thing concerning posting pictures online, how weary should parents be of posting pictures of their kids?
I think you've got to be careful. It all falls back on your security settings on your social media accounts. I am a huge proponent that nobody that I don't know can see what I'm putting up there. And I really stress that to my family.
Okay.
Because we've worked cases, we've seen it where people have said, I just scroll through social media and see when somebody's not at home and we'll break into their house. Or the bad folks will use social media to their benefit also.
All right. I know we've talked about this before. Just be mindful of what you post, how you tagging yourself in all these. I've seen other videos. Don't
showing
tag
off
yourself in
all
every
your
location.
goodies and toys.
Yeah, don't.
Yes.
Sometimes people tend to show way too much on social media in their selfies or whatever. So that's just inviting trouble. And again, like Sergeant King said, you need to lock down on who's seeing what. It's you don't need to show the world everything you got. It just invites trouble because there's people out there looking for it, and you're setting yourself up for trouble.
Alrighty, so let's just switch it from the kids real quick, even to adults. If you suspect someone is stalking you, watching you online, trying to set you up to meet you or whatever, what can we as adults do to, we think something's suspicious?
It's just, I guess it'd be like with any other crime. If you suspect that somebody's up to no good, call your local law enforcement. That we would rather take 100 of those calls that turn out not to be true than we would miss the one where somebody actually becomes a victim.
Okay. So will you all go to someone's house if the case seems reliable? If it's
Well, what about even just a welfare check?
Yeah,
Sure.
Will you come to the house, maybe have one of your officers that works with computers to, do a search, run something on?
Yeah, there are, it depended on the situation, but yeah, we that's what we do.
Okay.
Is everything within our power to make sure that folks are safe and sound. Do what we can.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. Now to switch gears just a little bit, we talked a little bit off air about the animals with this cold weather.
Yes.
I know you all probably have seen quite a few things around town. So tell us about keeping the animals inside. What are the consequences if you get a call? Things of that nature.
Right. If you own an animal, you need to be a responsible owner. And if you're not a responsible owner, then there's consequences. And the consequences could include a citation and possibly some jail time. These temperatures are dipping down to single digits at night. If you're leaving an animal outside, then it needs to have a proper shelter for it to be in, and some way for the water to where it won't freeze up. And there's different water heaters and things like that. So otherwise, if you don't have that kind of shelter for your animal, then you need to bring the animal inside for the night and during these single-digit temperatures, because it's not good for the animal. It's just cruelty is what it is, and so you need to do the right thing. And yes, we have had several calls about people seeing dogs out, not even a shelter, and they're just either tied up or whatever, and no food, no water, single-digit temperatures, and that's abuse, and those people will certainly write citations to.
Okay. All right. So we thank you. There was another story I saw on. There's a new facility coming to Jonesboro. I want to say Jonesboro, Grady County, concerning. Okay. A new ministry has been founded in Craig County to help women recovering from addiction be reunited with children. Is the police department playing any role in this facility?
Well, I mean, as with any facility in Jonesboro, if they have a need for us, then we always, there to help.
Okay.
But as far as the planning and setting things up like that, no. It's whoever's putting this on, they're doing on their own. But we're always in the background for any of these organizations to lend assistance when needed.
Now, I know Sheriff Boyd has been working hard trying to get the facility for, was it homeless or
mental health?
Mental health.
Yes.
How is that going, or can you report any on?
They're still trying to find a suitable facility for that, and I don't think at this point we have anything locked down for 100%. But we do have some money to spend on this from the state, and it's important for our area because, one, we do have people in this area that have these needs, and right now, we're having to take these people down to Little Rock to a facility down there. So that puts some officers on the road a lot of times transporting people to Little Rock back and forth, and so it takes them away from their family and ties up my officers. And so if we had something here, then these people could, of course, stay locally and still have a chance to visit with their family.
And I actually wanted to ask you something about this, Chief. Obviously, there's been several attempts to locate this facility, and there's been resistance every place has been proposed. And typically, the resistance is based on two things. One is people say, well, we don't want those kind of people here. They assume that these are criminals, and these people are going to break in and cause havoc and trouble, when in essence it's just really people who may have had things happen to them, who just may get depressed and they feel like they've lost hope. It could be any of us in the studio that goes through that. Correct. And then also it's going to lower our property value. So Chief, what do you say to those people? Because you just mentioned about how by not having this facility, it's affecting the job that your officers can do in safely protecting us. So I just kind of want to get your thoughts and response to the naysayers.
Right. We're looking at less than a 20-bed facility, about a 16-bed facility. So this is not long-term housing. This is a place to house people while they're undergoing some treatment. And they can't be out on their own, and sometimes they're not at one of the local mental health facilities. They may be court ordered to undergo treatment. So it's not your criminally insane folks. We have a state hospital for that. So there's a lot of people have been misinformed on what kind of people we're looking at for these facilities. And so I think education is the key, but it's still meeting resistance. And there's the last place they were looking at is over on Browns Lane, and there was some resistance there, even though there's already a mental health facility on Browns Lane. It's like, well, you've got one here already, and having a separate facility that could house a few people, on a temporary basis is, I don't see it's a bad thing. But, we did have the ideal situation. The old nursing home up on North 141 would have been ideal to take care of two problems in the city. One is for the mental health, and then they were going to use the other part of that for the homeless. And so, we're in need of shelters for some of our homeless folks in Jonesboro.
Do you think the conversation could ever be revisited and, all information laid out on the table for the residents? I understand their concern, and I'm not trying to dismiss any of those residents' concerns, but at the same time, we have a human need that needs to be met.
We do.
And this weather clearly illustrated that.
We do. It's the human need is, always the most important. And again, I think it goes back to education, getting the facts before you make a decision. Sometimes people respond to something without clearly getting all the facts that are involved. So education is the key, and maybe it can be revisited. This was an ideal location, and and the fact that the building was going to be donated to the cause was was huge, and we could have met two needs for our community at one location. But like I said, if it doesn't work, we'll still continue to look for other places and locations, and we'll make it work someplace, hopefully, because it's just a way to help meet the needs of our community.
Yes, sir.
And maybe one thing that could help with this is a community forum where people could come together, and you could be there, the mayor could be there, Sheriff Boyd, different representatives could talk about it, and which kind of transitions into something I wanted to bring up. A couple weeks back, there was an NAACP forum in which Chief Elliott came and Sergeant Brandon attended, and we live streamed it, and it got a ton of views and comments, and Chief kept forgetting to go to me, but I mean, I'm not mad, because a lot of people in the audience did have questions and concerns, and it was a great dialogue about the community and policing, and the concerns especially that the black community had concerning policing, and it's definitely something that we want to do again. And it's ironic, Chief, you asked me off the air when's the next one. Reverend Newsom texted me, and he said January 22nd, so will you be available for that? Well, I'll text him back and let him know. But one of the things that came out of it is we definitely want to have more of these. In fact, I think on maybe if not the next one, but on a future one, I think we're going to actually try to simulate a traffic stop, so that people can see what to do, what not to do, because that was one of the biggest things that came up, how to conduct yourself in a traffic stop to avoid a situation like we sadly see in other places on the news where someone gets shot.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I saw a video and I wanted to send it to you. Anyway, this lady got stopped for taillight out. The officer was as nice as he could be. He tried to reason with her, ma'am, get out the car, ma'am, I need to see your ID, blah, blah, blah. She had her window cracked. She wouldn't talk to him hardly. What crime has been committed? Ma'am, no crime, but I stopped you for a traffic infraction. He kept going on and on and on. So then he eventually called for backup. So by this time, there are like 6 officers surrounding this lady's car. They're still calm, but they're like frustrated. You could tell they're getting really frustrated. She's trying to spout off some legalese and this case of so-and-so versus whatever it said, blah, blah, blah. And like, she sounded kind of, I don't want to call her stupid, but it was irrelevant. The information was irrelevant for that situation. The officer eventually had to break her window and get her out the car. In situations like that, people are just trying to argue you down.
Right.
I know my rights. I don't have to get out. I know some people escalate situations, and I know there's been a lot of tension with officers' involvement in shooting and things like that. So I'm not trying to go down that rabbit hole. Just bottom line, when people get stopped, just say for a simple tail light out, maybe there was a short in the tail light and it may be working now. Whatever the case, when the officer stops you, what to do?
What to do? As I said in the meeting the other night, and actually we do have these tips on a little card at the police station in the lobby. So, but we'll go over it right quick. When the officer stops you, he is going to, or she is going to approach the car, and they're going to ask you for your identification, your registration, and proof of insurance. That's just standard, okay? During that approach to the car, we just like for people in the car to keep your hands where they can be seen. When people start fishing around in the console and under the seats, that puts the officers on edge because they don't know if somebody's trying to retrieve a gun and use it against them. That has happened way too many times in this country. So just keep your hands where you can be seen. When asked for the information, provide the information. Officer's going to go back, verify the information. He'll either write you a ticket, write you a warning, or may come back and just give you a verbal warning, and then it's over with. And if the officer says something, or you think the stop was improper or illegal or whatever, don't argue with the officer at that point. You do have a right to make a complaint, and our complaint forms are online, or you can stop by the police department. So my motto is comply, and then complain later and want to check into it. When you start spouting off that you know you're right, you're not going to give up this, you're not going to do that, then that creates problems that a lot of times it's not going to end very pretty. So use common sense. We make thousands of traffic stops a year, and we very rarely have problems. I mentioned before, look how many times the police department deals with the public in a year's time. It's well over 100,000 times we're having contact with the public. Wow. That could be every call we do, accidents, reports, tickets, whatever. But there's over 100,000 times that we're dealing with the public on one situation or another. And out of that, last year we had about 56 complaints, and out of that, 25 of them were legitimate. So you look at customer service, the men and women of the Jonesboro Police Department are doing their jobs in a professional way, day in and day out, with very little complaint. So, sometimes officers may have a bad day, seem to be a bad attitude. It's not trying to excuse it, but you go from sometimes a very sad situation, like a death investigation, then you're the next encounter. They may not be in the most cheery mood, or maybe even short. But not saying it's okay, but we have emotions too. That when we see the worst of people day in and day out, because face it, in our job, the people we encounter, everybody's having a bad day for something. If you got stopped, it's a bad day. If you come home, your house has been broke into, it's a bad day. If you just had a wreck, you're having a bad day, and we have to come in and and deal with that, and plus the situation. So that person a lot of times is already not in a good mood or whatever. Then now they have to encounter the police, and sometimes they make things worse themselves. And then if you have two people having a bad day, then ends up wrong. But we do encourage our officers we do have a protocol that we want things done right in a very professional manner. And like I said, for the most part, day in, day out, it is. I can't speak for anybody else across the country. I can just tell you that we have things in place that I mandate for my department, and I expect these men and women to be professional day in and day out. But getting back to the meeting the other night.
And Reverend Newsom said that January 22nd would be perfect. So
all right,
we got you down.
All right. The next meeting will be January 27th and
22nd.
22nd. I'm sorry. And I brought up during this meeting that I think it'd be a good thing to make this kind of a mini series. Take the next several months of these meetings and give us a chance to come in and answer questions and educate the community and put some of these fears to the side.
Got a couple of Facebook shouts. Shout out to Helen Scott and Tierra Hamilton. And we got a Facebook comment from Katie Haydar. She says, don't forget to take a group picture with Katie. We got you at the end of the show. Don't go anywhere. This is Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM.
You're listening to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM. We'll be right back.
We're back with Money Matters. I'm Alfred Edmond Jr. You may have excellent credit, or your credit scores could be horrendous. Either way, it's up to you to build and protect your credit. Here are 4 things you need to do. First, monitor your credit at all times. Review your credit reports for mistakes, and if you find anything, act immediately to get them removed. Pay your bills on time, always. The sooner you can establish a positive financial track record, the better. Never use more than 1/3 of the credit you have available to you from any given source. If you build a balance higher than that, stop using that source of credit until you can bring the outstanding balance down and keep it there. Finally, you don't really need to pay much to get help to improve your credit scores. Stick with accredited counselors from the National Foundation for Credit Counseling. Go to debtadvice.org for help finding one in your area. I'm Alfred Edmond Jr. for Money Matters, a product of American Urban Radio Networks.
Money Matters is made possible by the Jonesboro Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, a nonprofit organization dedicated to uncompromising commitment to communities, service, leadership, empowerment. www.jonesboroalumnidst.org.
Money Matters is brought to you by Bancorp South, offering checking, savings, loans, credit cards, and wealth management. 5 locations in Jonesboro to serve you. www.bancorpsouth.com or 870-972-9800.
For almost 3 years, KLEK 102.5 FM has brought you the music you love on your radio, on your computer, and on your phone. Now, we want to bring the music to your party, wedding, or any event. KLEK now offers DJ services for all occasions with over 22 years of DJ and broadcast experience. We can also announce your event on KLEK. Need a photographer for that special occasion? We got that covered too. Package deals available. Book us for DJ, photography, or for both for your event today. Call 870-203-9951 or look us up on social media at KLEK-FM.
Karaoke and photo booths with a custom design of your event are also available.
KLEK thanks CJ Pepper and the staff of Life Strategies Counseling Incorporated for helping people through hard times in life such as depression, family issues, stress, abuse, and more. They offer counseling and therapy for all ages, individuals, families, and groups. They are located at 1217 Stone Street. Phone number 1-866-972-1268 or online at lscihelp.com.
House of Details, located at 3217 Herb Street, Suite C, is a proud supporter of KLEK, offering detailing on any type of vehicle. Waxing, clear coat protection, basic wash, hand wash, shampoo, interior cleaning, buffering, headlight restoration, pickup, delivery, and more. With a motto of, anything mean, we can clean. Details available via Quentin Bogard at 870-273-5187. House of Details on Facebook and houseofdetailsjonesboro.com.
And now back to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM.
And we're back on Community Conversations on KLEK with our guest, Jonesboro Police Chief Rick Elliott and Sergeant Brandon King of Jonesboro Police Department. We've just been talking a variety of topics. Before we went to break, we were talking about community policing, and we were discussing the recent meeting with Chief Elliott and the NAACP. And the next one is going to be January 22nd. It'll be at the E. Boone Watson Center at 6 o'clock p.m. And, of course, we'll be announcing that more as it gets closer to time. But Chief Elliott will be available, and the dialogue will continue. And he's pledged to do a series to discuss anything that is of concern to the community, to, once again, to help bridge that gap, to keep making more and more steps toward bridging that gap.
Absolutely. And a lot of what we'll be talking about is some of the same material that we cover during our Citizen Police Academy program. We will be gearing that up again towards the end of February. So if anybody's interested in that program, you can go online and apply. At this point, the class will start to fill up. We can hold about 30 people in the class. And again, that's a 12-week program, one night a week for 12 weeks.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and we discuss all aspects of policing. And I think after that lengthy program, people walk out with a little bit better understanding of what we do, why we do it, and how we do it.
Well, I know I definitely did when I went through it in session 2.
Education is empowerment, and we'd like to, just people need to be informed. And that's what I want to do is, get a chance I get to get out in the community and visit and listen. I mean, because we learn more from talking to each other than at each other. And it's good to hear people's concerns and how they feel, and that way it gives me a chance to go back and address it, or if I need to change a policy or something or a procedure, then be willing to do so. But it's good to hear a dialogue back and forth. And so this event coming up on the 22nd it was a good one. The last one was a good event, and this will be, I think, a bigger event. We had a great turnout on live stream, obviously. So it will be at the E. Boone Watson Center again, starting at 6.
Yes.
And we should have plenty of seating. So if you have any questions about policing, things, and just whatever in general about the police department, myself and probably Sergeant Brandon will be there. And like I said, we'll discuss those, and we'll continue the dialogue.
One thing I want to stress is that this is our community, our city, and we have to start coming together, discussing ideas and ways to keep it safe for everybody. We can't just look out for ourselves. We have to look out for next door neighbor, across the street, across the town neighbor.
Exactly right. And the police department can't do it all. We have to work hand in hand with the community that we protect and serve. It takes us all working together to have a safe community.
Yes, sir.
So, again, it's just back to education and listening and understanding, and just getting folks together, and then and keeping the movement going from there.
That's right. I want to say thank you to Sergeant King for coming in and sharing information. Would you like to share some tips and tricks for parents, educators, guardians, adults on how to help keep our babies safe?
The biggest thing that we can do is just be heavily involved. You've got to know what your kids are doing and where they're going online and who they're talking to. I always say you've got to have their passwords and you've got to check it.
Okay.
At least weekly. You know what they're doing. And it makes you unpopular with them, but it helps keep them safe.
One thing I found out about by way of talking to another person that's really up on their privacy, even with Google searches or any kind of internet search, even though they delete something, there's still a way to go back and check, because most kids don't know how to clear out the history. They just delete that page or delete that search option. But you can go back to the history and do some digger deeping and find out more of what sites people have.
Well, and you got to keep in mind too that our children on devices that we've bought them, they don't have a right to privacy from us.
Okay.
It's not like if the police come in and search, we've got to have a warrant. That's your kid. That's your device. You know what's going on it.
And it's going to be in your name because you're paying the bill.
That's right.
There are lots of apps out there that will keep you informed. They'll notify you if they're texting or if they're emailing somebody. There's tons of apps. Some of them are paid. They're really good apps that will help you stay on top of what's going on.
And it's worth the extra, even if it's say $4.99 a month. It's worth it.
Absolutely.
To keep your kids safe. There are keystroke programs for computers. Are there keystroke or apps for the phone to kind of track the activity on the
they're
device?
very similar type apps for phones and tablets and iPads, you name it. If it's out there, you just got to do a little searching and find what's right for you.
All right, parents.
Man, this hour has flown by quickly.
All right, so we got to keep the baby safe. Do all you can.
All right, well, Chief, anything that you want to bring up that we did not cover?
Oh, Shop with a Cop. Thank you guys for all of
once again, that was a huge success. Great program that the FOP puts on every year along with the Rotary Club. So, big success. I think 17 was an interesting year, and hopefully 18 will be a great year for Jonesboro and our community. And I know that if we all just work together, it will be a great year for everybody.
That's right.
Okay, I have one quick question from Helen Scott. She says, will you guys consider doing live PD, like to show a mix between Citizens Police Academy and public media? I'm guessing maybe like live streaming, maybe one day from a CPA session.
Not opposed to it.
Okay.
That's actually a neat idea. So it's something...
maybe you'll get with David and Cassie since they run the JPD Facebook, and maybe do a live stream from CPA.
Yeah.
For those that actually, I think I'm kind of feeling that, because you're going to take 30 slots, but if you can live stream it, people can all over the city can see it. But so, Chief will look into it. Helen can't make no promises, but he will look into it.
And thank you for that idea. Great idea.
And Helen, thank you for that question. All right, anything else, Chief? We got about 40 seconds.
No. Again, I just thank everybody for the support of the police department. We are blessed in this community by our community that supports the police department in the way they do day in and day out. And we'd just like to say thank you to everybody, citizens and merchants and everybody involved. It's a great place to work here in Jonesboro, and we appreciate the support day in and day out.
All right, and we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you, Chief, for coming in. Thank you, Sergeant King. And thank you all for listening. Don't go anywhere. This is All Gospel Wednesday. We're doing gospel all day long up until 7 o'clock p.m. Be blessed. Have a great day. This is KLEK 102.5 FM.
Thank you for listening to Community Conversations on KLEK 102.5 FM, a program focusing on the people working to make the Jonesboro community a better place while offering viewpoints from all sides of the issues. The views expressed in this program are those of the